What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In this video, we are jumping into DC vs. Vampires All Out War issue number 6. This will be the final issue to All Out War, with the rest of the story picking up in the DC vs. Vampires main storyline. This is the final confrontation. This is Superman versus Deathstroke. The entire limited series of All Out War has been leading to this one fight. Superman, also known as Baron Cinder, he finds himself looking for this ragtag suicide squad that remains. After Mary Marvel turned back into her regular self, learning that she had been a vampire this whole time. Mary Marvel, her power, the only thing keeping the vampirism from fully taking over. She turned herself back into a vampire so that she could take down Billy. As they try to make their escape, they run into Captain Cold. His own cold gun had been turned on him, and they find him frozen solid. Now, be sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into the final issue, we are getting a small little story. When Big Red went missing, when Superman disappeared, absolute chaos ensued. People shooting guns in the air, having the time of their life, stealing, taking, killing, doing whatever it is they please. But then, Captain Cold got bit. He knew he was turning into a vampire. He knew that he couldn't stop the process. He could already feel what he was becoming. He could hear it screaming at the door. And so he came to this location. He turned his cold gun on himself, and he froze himself until something happened, until all of this passed over, hoping that they found a cure. Unfortunately, there is no cure, which means Captain Cold, he is going to continue on his process of transformation, with Booster Gold, Midnighter, and Deathstroke all here. Right now, Mary Marvel is in a very bad state, unwilling to see herself as a monster. She killed Billy, not as Mary Marvel, but as a vampire. And the problem is, that hunger is still there. She does her best to fight off the urge to really go out and kill everybody. And while Slade tells her that she should probably try to turn back to Mary Marvel, she is too afraid that if she does turn, because she crossed that line, she is afraid that Mary Marvel could be a weapon of absolute devastation. This is when, from the shadows, we have John Constantine, astro projecting himself to their location. Everybody thought he had died, apologizing for not checking in sooner, but he has been dealing with his own things. He has been orchestrating everything going on, making an absolute wonderful Lord of the Rings reference, saying that he is Gandalf the Git, returning to them now at the turn of the tide. But he does ask, where is Weather Wizard? Because John Constantine doesn't know that they failed at saving Weather Wizard. Meanwhile, at the Flash Museum, we have Baron Cinder, who is looking for Billy. He finds Billy, but it is already too late for him. Baron Cinder, he vows to get revenge for Billy, to make those who did this pay dearly. John Constantine finally understanding that Weather Wizard is no longer around and they have failed on their task in almost every single way. Because right now he has Supergirl in Australia waiting for the sun to come out. That way she can top off her tank and she can fight off the biters. Damian working to undermine Grayson's entire operation from the inside. This is when Captain Cold, he chimes in, letting it be known that he can do what needs to be done, saying that if he can get to Australia, he can help them. He may not be able to clear all the ash away like Weather Wizard was going to, but what he can do is he can freeze it. He can freeze all of the ash out of the sky above Supergirl. Give her the time she needs to charge up her batteries. That is when John Constantine goes over to Mary and he tries to give her a pep talk. Tries letting her know that right now, more than ever, they need her. Because they need her to take Captain Cold to Australia. While they have this conversation, what they see is Billy's cloak. It floats on the wind, making its way directly to them. But that means that he is here. Mary knows exactly what this is. In an instant, we see Baron Cinder come piling down on top of our heroes, with him letting us know that even at a fraction of his power, he is going to tear them all limb from limb. Booster Gold recognizing that they do not stand a freaking chance. Midnighter knows this to be true. Running the calculations, he doesn't care. He is going to fight. They are going to do everything that they can. Midnighter saying to hit him hard and do not let up, to try and catch him off balance. Midnighter going in, but we see Baron Cinder grab hold of him, and he rips Midnighter in freaking half. That is when Booster Gold, he creates little force fields inside the skull of Superman. He is trying to shut him down for good, but we see a blast come from Superman, his heat vision coming out. Before Booster Gold can even get out a sentence, we see his body, it's sliced in half, and his two parts fall to the ground. Deathstroke being the last one of them standing. John Constantine is trying to convince Mary Marvel that she needs to change. She needs to take Captain Cold out of here now before all is lost. We're seeing that Deathstroke's sword, it very much can at least wound Superman, cutting him across his gut and blood coming out. But this is not enough to stop him. Superman turns around and he punches Deathstroke so hard he goes flying. In that moment, this looks to be the end of Deathstroke. This is when Mary transforms. She says Shazam, and she goes in on Baron Cinder, with each of them laying down some heavy blows on one another. Baron Cinder still gets the upper hand, grabbing Mary Marvel, picking her up, getting ready to end her life right here, right now. That is when Baron takes a sword from the back and it is driven right through his body. Deathstroke being the one to hold that sword, letting Superman know that you forgot the first rule. Never turn your back on Deathstroke unless you are sure that he is dead. With Baron Cinder being destroyed, Mary Marvel holds on to Deathstroke as he takes his last dying breath. Deathstroke was able to make Azrael's sword work. Probably the only weapon that could have saved them in this moment. With Deathstroke fading away, Captain Cold lets her know that he is gone, that they don't have any more time to waste, they have to go. Because Captain Cold, he was still bit by a vampire, which means the process of vampirism is slowly working its way through his body. Not knowing if he will be able to fight off everything going on, they have to get him back over to Australia before it fully kicks in. That is when Mary Marvel grabs hold of Captain Cold and they take off, leaving behind John Constantine. What we see is that Deadman is there with him. Deadman asking if he is going to tell Mary Marvel that at the end there, it wasn't Deathstroke, it was Deadman. Because when Baron Cinder had punched Deathstroke, it did in fact kill him. Deadman possessed his body to give the last deadly blow to Baron Cinder. But John Constantine has no intention of saying anything to Mary. That there is no point in letting her know that. To let her have this moment, to let her believe that Deathstroke in his last dying breath had saved her life. With John Constantine leaving and Deadman disappearing, we see Midnighter, the man that was torn in half by Superman. He sits up, the top half of his body looking around and saying hello. And that will be the end of this story. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. The rest of this will be picking up in DC vs. Vampires, the main line. But this is probably the best issue to come out so far. Now, when it comes to DC vs. Vampires, there has been a lot of stuff that is just full of plot holes and very unbelievable. For the first time throughout this Elseworld story, I'm not sitting here questioning if this is believable. In fact, this was actually plausible. Now, we have to kind of ignore the fact that Superman has been turned into a vampire. Yeah, they gave us a reason for that, but it really doesn't make sense. But for the sake of the story, we have Baron Cinder, aka Superman. He comes in, he lays waste to freaking everybody, and if it were not for Azrael's sword, they would have all perished. If it were not for the likes of Deadman, they would have all died. I am very curious on why Midnighter is still alive, being ripped in freaking half. Was he a vampire this whole time? Or is there something more that is going on? Something that we were not privy to, something we did not see. Because I don't see Deadman going into a man's body who only has half a body, who is missing his legs. It seems kinda just pointless at that point. But All Out War, all in all, it was a fun run. It was interesting. It was fun to see Deathstroke out here leading against these forces, fighting against them the best that he can. And it's also nice to see John Constantine, as he said, as a Gandalf, out here doing his best, manipulating the situations, trying to make it to where humanity, whatever remains of it, has some kind of chance. This does give me the hope that the rest of the run, the rest of DC Vampires, it may come to a relatively good ending. I have my fingers crossed. I am hoping that the last couple of issues we are gonna get are gonna be something absolutely outstanding. But let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get completely caught up on everything going on with DC vs. Vampires, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It is gonna get you completely caught up on everything going on with this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having 5 different tiers, from $1 to $50. From loyalty badges to getting free comics every single month. Not only does this help out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you are unable to do that, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.